right, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am here with the beautiful Alison Robertson, and you may know her from her roles on Darman.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll be back to make it for you. I'm just gonna go hang out with Mr. Gladwell for a little bit, okay? Come on, get in the car.
This is it. This is war.
He is a young man. He probably just started working here last week.
Look, no excuses. If he can't follow simple instructions, then he deserves to be punished.
Why can't you give people more compassion?
She is also a life coach and an author of the book Enoughness. So I'm on chapter 5. I'm delving into this, and I've been getting some good stuff out of it, but that'll be for another conversation because I want to interview you specifically about your book and talk to you on my live stream about that. So
Awesome.
I won't get into that too much today, but I wanted people to be aware that you are not only an actress.
Thank you.
You're many talents. So, Alison, tell us, when did you start your acting career?
I have to say in high school. In high school, I caught the bug. Yeah, in high school. I got introduced to the industry by a celebrity. So that's how So I very rarely tell this story, but I'm going to tell this story for you. I was 14 and I became friends with Liberace's last protege, who was the same age as me. And we became friends, and I got to spend a summer touring with Liberace and his crew, and they taught me to sing and become musical, and that's when I caught the bug on wanting to sing and dance and act. So that's how it happened for me. And then my parents said, well, if you want to do this, like try starting out in high school, and started doing musicals and plays. And then by the time I was 18, I was in New York. So that's how I got started in acting.
That's amazing. So you can also sing and dance.
I mean, dance is a generous word, but yes, but I can
You
sing.
can move well.
I can move. Yes, I can move. But yes, so that's how I started out in musical theater. Yeah.
And so it sounds like you've been doing this for such a long period of time, a couple decades at least.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What would you say has been your favorite role to date? Is there a role that you were like, this is what I was born to play? Or
That's really funny. I would have to say my favorite thing I've done, everything I do, I find joy in and passion in, but I have to say the theater is where I feel I come the most alive, because that's my roots and that's my training. And my favorite role that I ever played was in the play Noises Off, which is about a play within a play. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever done on stage. And I did that in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was just fantastic. It's also when I got my equity card. So it has so much meaning to me and memory. And as a young actor, wanting that card so badly in the theater. And I don't know if it has as such meaning now today, if people strive for their equity card like that. But for me at that time, 19, 20, 21, I just wanted it so badly. And to get it on that show was so memorable for me.
That's a big accomplishment. It's just the same here when people come to Hollywood and they're trying to get their SAG card.
Yes.
And people can work for it for years and years and try to get it. And then there's people who are willing to do unscrupulous things to get their card. Stories on sets that I've been on.
Yes, it's so true.
For a voucher? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
It's some between the lines stuff that we do not need to explain to our young audience, but is there anything? I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of all the stories. I have a poetry book I've been working on since 2017, and it's all these stories about Hollywood.
Oh, I love that.
Along the way, and some kind of eye-opening stuff that I think just your regular person who just kind of watches movies would have no idea the struggles that an actor and anybody in the industry goes through to just sink their claws into this profession and try to hold on to it for some period of time with success.
The ups and downs. I mean, it is quite, I mean, it's literally peaks and valleys. Like, I'm sure every industry has it, but I feel because we are the products of our industry, that the peaks and valleys are much more dramatic because there isn't a lot of a distance, because it's about us at the end of the day. Even though it's our work, we are the work and we are the expression. So it's tough. It's tough when you hit those peaks and valleys.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a product, Coca-Cola. Once they got the formula down, they have it down. But for us, we're ever evolving, we're changing, we're growing older, sometimes we're growing wider. The product is changing, and then you have to keep thinking of how to remarket the new packaging.
Correct. We're not duplicatable. And like, as you know, in business, what's successful is something that's duplicatable. In art, that's not. It's the uniqueness. It's lightning in a bottle. You hear that all the time. And I think that's what you're saying, is how to reinvent yourself all the time. And if you don't have the stomach for that, that's sometimes a little difficult. And like, look, some days we don't have the stomach to reinvent ourselves, but then we find it again, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you look at movies and I think, whatever happened to that actress, or whatever happened to that person? And it could be as simple as they didn't know how to reinvent themselves. Sometimes they step away, but other times they didn't know like what to do next once they fell out of a certain, you were always playing the young cute thing, and maybe it's time to step into a different role, and some don't want to embrace that, or
they hold on too long, right?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of holding on too long, where actresses in their 50s and 60s are still trying to squeeze into those tight mini dresses they wore in their 20s, and even if it still fits, it's not always appropriate.
Sometimes it's better to embrace where we're going, not hold on to where we've been.
Yeah. So I felt like turning 30 for me was so much harder than turning 40.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
When I turned 30, I thought my career's over. I'm not that young ingenue anymore. What could I possibly, because you just have this weird misconception about Hollywood is this well, maybe it's not a misconception, but being so youth driven that you kind of feel like there's no place for you sometimes in your 30s, because you're like, well, 20s, you're the young ingenue, but you can't really play moms usually till 40s, then you've this where you're trying to figure out who I am, because I still felt like a little kid, but I'm not anymore. And
well, I also think at that time when you were in your 30s or in your late 20s into your 30s, the industry was very driven that you had to make it, you had to do something in your 20s, and by the time you hit your 30s, have you not accomplished that, your hopes or dreams were a little tattered. But I think now Hollywood has a different conversation now. I think the conversation is opening a little bit more. I don't think it's very vast, but the conversation is a little bit getting more open, especially for women, about that we at any age can be viable in the industry. It's getting a little bit better, I think.
Yes, I've seen that, definitely.
Yeah.
More actresses now I've seen that are paired with people that are actually their age playing opposite them, where normally you'd see a Hollywood movie, 99% of the time the guy actor is paired with someone 20 years younger than her. And I even saw one actress talking about in an interview once that she had a role in something, but the leading man said, she's too old for me, and she was 20 years younger than him, and she got taken off it because he said she was too old to play opposite him. And they were like 20 years younger. So it has gotten a little, it's turned around, but we've been so ingrained, I feel like, our whole life watching movies, that when I recently saw a pairing of people the same age, my initial instinct, which is totally formed by Hollywood, was like, oh, what did they cast that old lady with that guy? Because
we're so ingrained. Our perception is so, what is Hollywood? What are the movies? What are the storytelling? But really the storytelling is about real people. And that's what we have to start to bring to the forefront, I think.
Yeah. So I know you do other things besides acting. You've got your life coaching and you're authoring a book. And I don't know if you're working on a course to go with it. I know you are a speaker. Do you want to talk a little bit about your other loves besides acting?
Sure. Yeah. I think because as being an actor, I think it goes hand in hand that sometimes we have very empathetic and generous hearts, and we see people in a different way because we play characters. And I think leading into coaching and sharing our words and sharing our thoughts is a very natural path for entertainers and actors. So becoming a life coach was something that popped up after I had my 2 daughters, and I had them back to back. And I think it was sort of my need to want to reach out into the world and be something bigger than just where I was, waiting for the phone to ring or waiting for a role to come along, and needing to care for these 2 little human beings that I had created. And I just had something that I wanted to do, and that's where the life coaching came in for me. And when I found my niche for that, which was about confidence and how to advocate for yourself and how to go after what you wanted because of what I had learned in the business. So that's how my life coaching practice had come about for me. And then a natural course to that was to write a book about it, which I wrote my book, Enoughness, The Simple Truth to Embracing You, which is about my coaching and my life and how those 2 things sort of came together with acting, and how I've helped people over the past decade with getting what they want and believing in themselves.
That's amazing. And we all need more of that, for sure. Even those of us who seem successful, there's always more heights, there's always more mountains to reach, more summits to conquer, and having that person who can kind of is a few steps ahead of you to kind of say, this way, come on, this way, is
I think we all deserve a champion who can say to us, yes, that little thing inside of you that says you want something more, you want something different, or you want something bigger. I think we all deserve someone that goes, yes, you can, yes, you can, yes, you can, right? Because we don't always have it for ourselves every day.
Yeah, sometimes we're our own worst enemy with the thoughts that we think and the words that we say, and you need someone to kind of turn you in the right direction.
I saw something this morning, and I've heard this quote many times, but every time I see it, I always think, oh, this is such a truth. And it is, please don't dig up with doubt what you planted with faith. And I just think that such embodies what we all do with acting and coaching and writing. Don't dig up with doubt what you planted with faith. And that's sort of the foundation of why I started my other paths. And I also believe as creatives and entrepreneurs and artists, we have paths that come down, and we don't just walk on one, right? We have many things and many talents that we have.
Yeah. So how long have you been working at Darman Studios now?
I haven't been there very long. I started last June. So, and it was like a really wonderful thing that I fell into, a wonderful job that I fell into, and just an instinct that I listened to. It was very funny. They offered me a job and I wasn't available, and I said no, and I kind of let it go. And then I heard a little voice said, you should email them back. And I did. And I showed up at the studio, and I just thought, what is this? And as I investigated and I saw, and I just was like, this is like the best kept secret in Hollywood. That's how I felt. That's really how I felt, to get to do my craft and have this job and be with wonderful people. And then it just felt magical to me, and I have always been grateful every time I've been invited back. So, and then as I met friends and start to be a part of the community and part of the Dhar family, I was like, I just have felt very blessed to be a part and to tell the stories and create the characters there. Yeah.
Okay. And you've been there 11 months about. How many videos have you been in?
I would say about, I don't know, let's say maybe under 20, maybe 15, 16, it's a job that's like a gift that keeps giving for me. And I love telling people the story of working there because of the people that are reaching out on social media and the people I meet at the studio and, all the, support staff at the studio. I mean, I just adore it. So I'm grateful every time I'm there. And what was great is, working with you and forming the friendship and working together that we've done. I mean, it's just been great, and as an only child who's always wanted like a big family, I'm like, oh, wow, look at this. This is like great. So that's how it feels to me.
I loved how you said it. It's like, this is like the best kept secret in Hollywood. What is this? What are the things that you enjoy about working there? What makes it different than other places you've worked? Because listen, you've got nearly 3 decades of acting all different places for all different people and all different sets.
I'm Sasha. You must be Anne.
Okay.
I never imagined I'd be on my own now, having to share my time with you. Just before you go to college, when we have even less time together. Look at it this way. You get to catch up on the assignments that you're missing. And you get to spend time with your dad.
And her.
Yes. And Susanna. It's the new normal, honey. Oh my God. I am so sorry.
No, it's okay. Maybe my approach was too vague.
No, it's fine. I'm just out of practice with someone asking me out. This is all just too much for me right now. Just get in the car. I was drugged. It's the only thing that makes sense. What you're saying, it's a big thing to accuse somebody of. I get texts, phone calls, only when she needs something. When she's run out of cash.
What makes Darman Studios stand out to you as being like one of the best kept secrets?
It's something about the consistency, the level of professionalism, when you come to work, everyone's happy to see you, and you're gonna have a good day, and it's fun. It's not just fun, but like you get to do what you love to do in an environment where everybody's just as happy as you are. And that's really unusual. And that's what makes it unique. And there's not just you, it's not just your crew doing it. There's several crews doing it. So it's like this, what I said, what's the most successful is something that's duplicatable. So here's this artistic thing that's been duplicated in a way. And where I've been on very exciting sets, I've been in very exciting things that were exciting, and I was very excited to be in it, but it was fleeting. Like it felt like I had to hold on to it because it was going away, or I felt like I didn't fit in, or I felt like, oh, I'm so grateful to have this job, but it's over. This, I feel like I can relax into and enjoy it because it might come back. It will come back. I get to enjoy the people, and that's why it's the best kept secret, because it's something that I know I'll get to feel again. It's the closest thing to theater I've ever experienced, where it's like, oh, I get to do it again. Oh, there's the same actors I worked with before. Oh, there's new people. It's just that feeling of community that we so often don't get in a TV or film atmosphere.
That's true. I didn't think of it like that, but you do really form a family when you're doing theater, day in, day out with the same people. And on all the other sets you work on, there's different people. Each project, it's all new people. And you gotta, like, how do I act? Are they gonna like me? Are they not gonna like me? Is the director gonna yell at me today? Is the AD gonna be in a bad mood? Who am I?
Right.
Walking on broken shells, like not wanting to offend.
Not rock the boat. And then you can't be your authentic self when you're feeling when you're questioning your environment around you. And that's the great thing about the studio, is that you're never questioning your environment around you.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Right?
that's a good point. Now, as far as, I guess since we're talking about Darman Studios, what has been your favorite role you've done there?
I loved doing the role, first of all, I have three. One is where Dad is working too much and he doesn't pay attention to the son. He keeps missing his baseball games.
I just got held up. It was an emergency situation.
Stop.
I had to do it.
Stop.
I was late.
Don't explain it to me. Explain it to Bruno.
And that was, I was working with Roman Smith, and I loved working, doing that video. I loved being the bride who, second marriage, and the son was sabotaging my wedding, and I got a cake thrown in my face, and all these fun things were happening. So that was like the most outrageous I've done at Darman.
I object.
Max, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry, Mom. I did not mean to.
Why would you do this to me? Max! Max! Max!
And the final one was the one I did with Chris Reddy, where I lied to my husband about to make his health better.
Oh no, Dr. Singh, I just can't believe it. I understand. I will. I can't believe it. Thank you. Thank you for the call.
And that was very like some emotional work. So it was just like, talk about running the gamut. That was the best. Yeah.
For different reasons. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably, if someone would ask me what I like about the studio, I would say the opportunity to play such a various roles that you maybe don't get seen in other casting places. There's a couple people that seem to play similar roles all the time, but for me, I just feel like the opportunity to play such different things and different storylines has been fun. One day you are like getting cake thrown at you, and the next day you're crying your eyes out, and the next, like, it's fun. It's a challenge. It keeps you on your toes. It's like free acting classes. I mean, hopefully by now we've studied enough, but
No, but I do agree with you on that one. When you say free acting class, you do get to work because you're not in a pressured situation because you're comfortable in your environment, right? So you do get to feel free to express yourself without trying to be perfect.
yeah.
And there's something, that's why it's the best kept secret, right?
Yeah, and there's so many sets where I've been on where, like, if you don't get it right the first or second take, you're going to get screamed at.
Or you just feel the disappointment, right? And you cannot create when you feel like you're disappointing somebody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You don't want to let anyone down. That's that extra level of pressure. Alison, what is a role you've always wanted to play that you haven't had the opportunity yet to play? What kind of role would that be?
I would love to play like a hard-nosed CEO, mafia boss, like that type of ruthless.
I can totally see that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would very much like to be the head boss woman.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Tell me, what is something interesting about you that maybe most people don't know?
I grew up in a multi-generational household. So I grew up with my grandmother, and I created the same thing with my children. They grew up with their grandmother. And I have a big open door policy at my house. So I call my house the real modern family. So I have people that stay with me or live with me if they have problems or troubles or just need a break. So I have like I said, I'm an only child who wanted a big family, who wanted tons of siblings. So I love having family around. I was a girl who probably would have loved the Waltons, saying goodnight to everybody. And I didn't realize what an impact that had on me to want so many people around me as an only child, right? And didn't have a need to have a lot of children. I just had a need to create family out of strangers and friends. My grandmother always said, you don't collect things, you collect people.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah, I would agree with that. Is there anything that when you
here's one thing somebody would never know about me. I learned to drive stick on a Ferrari. So people don't know that I have like a thing for speed, and I can drive a speedboat and I can drive a cigarette boat. And I have this like crazy side of me that can do like these nutty things, and nobody would ever think of it because I'm very like, demure, and I stay in my little zone, but
I love that. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
When you get interviewed, do you ever feel like, is there any question where you're saying like, why didn't they ask me this? Is there any question that you wish people would ask you?
I think I'm such a private person that I always think like, oh good, I'm so glad they didn't ask me that. But I'm starting to work on being more vulnerable, right? And starting to learn how to share more things instead of just being the helper, by saying like, well, I have this information, because I'm a great connector. I can connect people and information, and that's my thing, right? But I have a story to tell also. I have a personal story to tell also. So I think next time ask me that question, right? Because I've had heartbreak and heartache, and I want to be in love again, and I want all those things, right? I'm a single mom. So I think that's the path where I'm so used to talking about accomplishments or where I've been or but I think I'd like to talk more about what my heart wants in the future.
Yeah. And I imagine when you're speaking in front of groups, you share some of that.
You know what? I have really shied away from it. And I have been advised that it would probably bode me well, since I'm in my 50s, that I should start to share that information, right? And it's almost a challenge for myself right now, right? Because I think if you speak it, then you put it into existence, right? So I always say it's the proverbial throw your hat over the wall. So if you throw your hat over the wall, what do you have to do? You have to go get it. So if I throw my hat over the wall, I'm going to have to go get it.
The next time we talk, it's going to be about how you're manifesting love into your life and all the good stuff that you want to have.
Love versus attention, right? And that's what I would really love to talk, especially to young women, about.
Oh, that's a great topic, and I think that would be a very important video, because the way it looks on social media, it looks like young women are craving that attention, affection through attention, by how they are displaying themselves and putting themselves out there, thinking that will lead to love, but it's kind of a different path. So that would be a good time. We should go there. Any kind of philosophy you live your life by?
I believe in kindness. I think you should just be kind. I believe in crossing the footbridge with people. I have a really fiery temper, and I know most people are like, you do? And I was like, yes. That was at the car dealer today, because something happened with my car. And my youngest daughter said, oh, Mom, they put us in the office because you look like a yeller. And I thought that was very funny, because I really believe in crossing the footbridge and trying to really see the other person's point of view, especially when it's difficult for me to see the other person's point of view, because I think kindness matters. I just do. And I think we walk around the world not being kind.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can be funny and we can be jovial and we can joke around, and sometimes joking can become mean-spirited. But I think if you always land with remembering kindness matters, and we all have a deposit for that, right? You put into your spiritual deposit for that of being kind to each other and vice versa. And I think it truly matters.
Now, you've been getting more and more fans from people who've seen you on Dhar Mann. Would you say that most people who reach out to you now, fan-wise, know your work from Dhar Mann as opposed to any other things they may have seen you in?
I would say it's 50-50.
Okay.
It's Darman, and then they find me through Lifetime, through the 2 movies I have on Lifetime.
Miss him all you want. He's never coming back. And if you think you're going to find him in these other men, you're dead wrong. You've got to be kidding me. Knock it off.
Yeah.
So they kind of dovetail with each other, and it's
Nice.
That's kind of unique and interesting. But I would definitely say Dhar Mann has made it, much more visible and much more exciting for me.
Do you have any last minute thing you want to tell the fans? I know they reach out to you, they ask you things, they tell you personal things, they share their opinions. Is there anything that you want, any message you want to impart to the fans who are watching you, who are watching Dhar Mann?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is, first of all, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. And first of all, thank you for watching all of us on Dhar Mann, and thank you for reaching out and for just being interested in someone's life that you don't know, right? Like, I think that's so unique and fascinating to me. And that's part of the reason I take an interest in at least trying to write back or say thank you, because I don't take that for granted that someone's interested in what I say or what I do, right?
You made a really good point there, and I never thought about this before you said that, but it's one of the few professions that someone will feel really connected to you by your job, by what you do. And I was thinking, when I worked at the donut shop, no one ever said, boy, the way you put those donuts in the bag, the way you loaded them in the box. I went home and I was thinking about that, and that made me think, I need to reorganize my life so I line up things properly. Other job I've worked has, had people like studying how I do something and telling me how it's affected them. And I've, been a valet for over 4 years, and no one ever told me, the way you park, the way you parallel park, me,
It's the impact, right? I think it's very important to remember, like, there's an impact. And I think if you're the person that's having an impact on somebody, I think there's a responsibility to it, right? And even if you can't answer everybody or you can't make everybody happy, I think just acknowledging that it lands on, I'm just gonna speak for me, that it lands on me and I don't take it for granted. It means a lot to me. And I think the one thing I would love to say is, like, everyone that I work with at Darman Studios is lovely and gracious and professional, and I'm one of the luckiest people I know, right? Because of it. The friends I meet, the work I get to do, and I'm grateful every day. And gratitude, next to kindness, gratitude is the second runner-up for me on how I feel. And if anybody that's on social media, because I'm such a private person and I'm very polite, I would love suggestions. If somebody wants to hear something that I want to say, I'm so inspired by you, Katherine, like how you talk and what you say and how you share. And I think, like, oh, well, how did she, I love how she did that. Like, I'm a permission person. And like I said, I would like to be more in, throw my hat over the wall and just speak. So I would love suggestions or ideas.
That's great. I know sometimes I worry that I overshare. I tell people too much, but then I think, if I've learned anything from the trials and the troubles and the heartache, I want to share those lessons. I don't want someone else to go through what I went through. And sometimes that means sharing things I'm not proud of, places I've messed up, places I've done wrong in hopes that, you'll know you're not alone. And I think it's easy for people to see. They see people like us and they think we are at this level of success that maybe a kid in high school thinks, oh, someday I would love to be on a show or I'd love to act. And they think that maybe we have a problem-free life. And they don't know, sometimes peeling back the layers helps people go, oh, wow, I don't have to be perfect. I can have this wrong with me, this wrong with me, and this wrong with me, and I can still follow my dreams. And I remember I used to go to this church, and I just thought the pastor's wife was so perfect, and I just thought, I'm not attainable. I can't be perfect like her. She just seemed like there was everything was just everything was just perfect. Everything should speak. And then one time she did the sermon and she got real. She got real. And she was talking about how angry she was at her husband, who's the pastor, and how he was supposed to do something and he didn't. And she was going crazy. Like this kid they adopted was just driving her nuts, and she needed a break, and he was supposed to give her one, and he was leaving. And she was so mad, she flipped him off. She said she double flipped him off. She used both fingers. And I was dying laughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is a real person.
She's human.
You can just lose your mind and you can still get up and preach the next Sunday. And that just made me feel like, yes, that made, and she maybe was scared that people would look at her in a different light, but I liked her so much better after she told me she double flipped off the pastor. I was like, yes.
But that's the thing, is that I think the more human we are, and sometimes it's scary, and sometimes that's scary.
Yeah, for sure. Where can we find you, Alison, if people want to look you up?
Instagram is the best place to find me, at the Alison Robertson. I'm working on many other things, and I will launch things from there, from Instagram. And, doing fun stuff with you and being here talking has just been great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me today. And I hope the audience got a lot of good nuggets out of this. And I can't wait to work with you again.
Me too. Thank you, Katherine, so much.
Okay. Bye.